So most people think that slavery was abolished in 1865, but most people don't realize that slavery was never really abolished, just redirected under a different guise. Slavery is still very legal in the United States according to the 13th Amendment. The 13th Amendment states that slavery is still allowed when used as a form of punishment for convicts. So today, in 2019, all it takes to become a slave in America is to be convicted of a crime. So China, Russia, and the United States hold most of the world's prison population, which is no surprise. And the reason that this information is so important is because while we as Black people are constantly protesting how we're treated by police and the high rates of incarceration amongst Black people, and the fact that the majority of Americans in prison are Black. We protest all of these things, but protesting does nothing if you don't understand what we need to do to actually correct the problem. So to put things into perspective, America only has 5% of the world's total population, but 25% of everyone imprisoned in the world is in America. Those statistics alone should be enough to make you see the big picture. Mass incarceration of people in America is all based on slave labor, and the whole system is funded and created by corporations and the government who became billionaires by locking you up and convicting you of crimes. And once you're convicted of these crimes, you have, according to the 13th Amendment, become their slave. So when they abolished slavery in 1865, they basically just abolished one form of enslavement, meaning white people in the KKK weren't technically allowed to go around and capture random Black people and force them to be slaves. But the only way to continue to enslave Black people at this time was if they convicted you of a crime. Now, 150 years later, we have over 18,000 police stations, 1,700 state prisons, 102 federal prisons, 1,000 juvenile jails, over 3,000 local jails. And that doesn't even include military prisons, detention centers, and the 133,000 private prisons that have been set up recently. This whole system was created to legally enslave people in America. And this is why 25% of the world's prison population is right here in America, even though we only represent 5% of the world's total population. And here are just a few of these corporations who have become rich off of this free slave labor that is set up in America. And those of us who are fortunate enough to not get locked up, we're out here buying all of these products that are made for pennies on the dollar in prison. And this system is no different from a group of KKK members capturing you and forcing you to grow their tobacco or cotton so they can become rich while you work for free and have nothing. And the modern system of enslavement and imprisonment today is all disguised as prison reformation, where these corporations claim that this forced labor is a form of rehabilitation for the prisoners so that they can become upstanding citizens and gain skills so that when they return to society, they can get jobs and they can become upstanding tax-paying citizens. And we all know the reality is anyone who's been released from prison has a very hard time finding a job, regardless of how much free labor they've done in prison. In 2010, BP used prisoners to clean up their oil spill for free. The 13th Amendment allows big corporations like BP to use inmates as slaves. And to be clear, there aren't enough jobs in America for everyone to have a job in the first place. However, If you are arrested and convicted of a crime, there's a job waiting for you, already set up, but you'll be working for free. So when Kanye West tried to talk to Trump about the 13th Amendment and changing the 13th Amendment, he went about it in the wrong way, and the media made a fool of him, and Trump paid him no mind. And Kanye West did a good job making a fool of himself the day he claimed to be Trump's #1 fan. By the time Kanye tried to have a serious conversation about the 13th Amendment, nobody cared about what he was saying because at this point, most black people and white people alike have labeled Kanye West as a mentally unstable man. But regardless of Kanye West and his best friend Trump, here's why everyone in America should be concerned about the 13th Amendment. So if the 13th Amendment were ratified to abolish all forms of slavery, then it would destroy the big businesses that depend on slave labor from the prison system. All of the big box stores like Walmart, BJ's, Costco, Home Depot, Lowe's, all of these huge corporations that have put many, many small businesses in America out of business. These corporations are the ones profiting from the imprisonment of people along with a corrupt justice system. So if the 13th Amendment were ratified, these corporations would no longer be allowed to use people in America as slaves for free labor. They would be forced to pay their employees just like everyone else. And this will also affect the police officers and the police departments, because if they're no longer practicing this mass incarceration technique, and they have no need to arrest masses of people and keep these prisons full so they can have these free slaves, it will no longer be part of the business for them. So this means that they're not going to be arresting as many people as they are today to fill these prisons if they no longer have the incentive to do so. Because once these corporations realize that they can no longer profit off of your imprisonment, they will have no need to fill the prisons because they will have no way to profit off of your imprisonment. And many people believe that Obama was a better president than Trump. But in fact, he was no different when it comes to the 13th Amendment. In 2016, Obama gave $1 billion to one of these corporations so that they could detain all of the people who were coming from South America. So all of these people coming from South America, instead of being turned back around or sent back to their countries that they came from, prisons were built to house these people, making them prisoners of the United States, and then they were used as slaves to make products sold in America. And the private prison sector of the United States and these corporations have continued to grow and expand since Trump has become president. Trump even stated that he wants to increase immigrant detention, and his administration decided that it would be in the best interest of national security to radically expand the United States detention capacity, specifically for women and children, by over 450%. So right now, we make up 25% of the world's imprisoned population, and he wants to increase that by 450%. This means the more prisons that they build, the more people they will continue to put in these prisons for their free labor. And when Trump says he's going to make America great again, what he's really saying is instead of us paying poor people in third world countries to make our products for 25 cents an hour, we're going to bring all those jobs home and let the prisoners work for 10 cents an hour or for free. So I want to be clear about something. I've never made any videos talking about politics. I've never voted in my life for anyone, and I do not belong to any political party, nor do I have a political agenda. I simply want to take the time to explain how the 13th Amendment affects everyone in America in a negative way. The 13th Amendment affects everyone living in America no matter what color they are. It's the reason that millions of small businesses have closed. It's the reason that police unjustly arrest black people, plant evidence, and now they're so bold they just kill us like dogs. And the police get away with this over and over again because they're just modern day bounty hunters for large corporations who need more slaves. As far as jobs and unemployment is concerned in America, 1.6 million jobs would be returned to the American economy if the 13th Amendment were ratified. And corporations were no longer allowed to practice slave labor. Because right now there are 1.6 million people in American prisons being used as free slaves. So prison labor has become a business. Therefore, police departments, justice departments, judges, lawyers, and corrupt politicians from every state have become agents and beneficiaries of the unlawful imprisonment of people in America and anyone who tries to come here. Imagine all of the people who are coming here from South America in search of so-called freedom, only to end up in a prison used as a slave. And the worst part is what happens to the children. I remember when Obama was president and the media portrayed him as being the hero for all of the immigrant children from South America. The media gave off the impression that Obama was the only one who cared about all of these children who now have no parents. But what the media didn't tell you is that Obama gave $1 billion to CCA, the Corrections Corporation of America, to imprison immigrants from South America. So the real reason that Obama had all of these fatherless and motherless children is because he spent $1 billion enslaving their parents. So overall, the 13th Amendment affects everybody. Black people, Hispanic people, the American economy, police, small businesses, and all of this trickle-down effect of the 13th Amendment affects everyone in America. And it's not a black or white issue, it's actually a rich versus poor issue. The strong versus the weak, the ones who are in control versus the ones who have no voice. And if we don't do something now to change the 13th Amendment, then you might as well seriously consider leaving America altogether, because they keep building more and more prisons every day, and mathematically speaking, within 1 to 2 generations, if we continue on this path, America will be a full-fledged police state with a slave-based economy.